All right, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're going to do something fascinating, but honestly a little bit terrifying. We're going to map out the exact psychological and physical milestones of an underworld career path, starting from the very, very bottom. We're literally going to put you in those shoes as you make this dark, highly calculated climb up a violent corporate ladder, looking closely at the source material that exposes the brutal reality of how a cartel hierarchy actually works. There's a quiet law in this world. And the true cost of moving up, it isn't actually about money. I mean, sure, the money is definitely there, but the real currency is the pieces of who you used to be. You trade those away step by step just to survive. Because to climb this ladder, you have to continually become an entirely new version of yourself, one that's capable of surviving whatever the next rung demands of you. So picture this. Your climb doesn't start with a weapon in your hand or some massive cinematic initiation. It begins in complete agonizing isolation. It's just you, on a hillside, watching a dusty road and slowly learning the crushing weight of silence. It looks like an incredibly mundane scene, but it's actually masking a deadly serious testing ground. You begin as a Halcón, or lookout. This is the absolute bottom of the hierarchy, the entry-level position. And what's really striking here is that nobody actually sits down and explains the rules to you. You're just given these tiny windows of responsibility, and every single mistake, every little lapse in attention is being tracked by faceless managers you'll probably never meet. Down here, you are entirely expendable. Now, the protocol sounds simple enough at first glance, right? Watch the road, make the call, say nothing. But this is secretly a massive psychological crucible. They're testing your ability to handle crushing boredom, high-stakes pressure, and intense, paralyzing fear, all at the exact same time, completely alone. They are waiting to see if you can just disappear into the job. And over months on that hillside, something inside you actually shifts. That initial paralyzing fear that sat so heavy in your chest, it fades, and it's replaced by something much colder, much steadier. Silence becomes your most valuable asset. That emotional detachment is exactly the qualification your unseen bosses were waiting for, to give you a promotion. Then, one evening, the isolation finally breaks. A guy you've never spoken to directly just walks up to you out of the dark and delivers these exact words. You're ready for something more. And that's it. That is the point of no return. Those words formally pull you into a life you can literally never walk away from without severe consequences following you forever. Welcome to Rank 2. You're now a Sicario, the enforcer. And this shift happens without any grand ceremony. You're officially part of the family now, which means you carry an obligation that's way stronger than blood. And with this shiny new title, well, you no longer get the luxury of choosing your own risks. The crucial realization at this stage is the absolute, total loss of your autonomy. You aren't weighing risks from afar with binoculars anymore. You move without a second of hesitation the exact moment you're told. Your first real job is delivering a violent in-person message to someone who forgot whose territory they were standing in. It's no longer a test of observation, it is entirely a test of action. When you get back from that first night of enforcement, you're fundamentally hardened. You can actually feel it when you look in the mirror. That nervous lookout shivering on the hillside, that feels like a completely different person now. The men above you are watching you really closely right now, and they see that raw ambition has successfully conquered your fear. You're finally ready to lead. Which brings us to Rank 3, Lieutenant. Welcome to mid-level management. This leap happens fast, and it throws you straight into the insanely high-stakes complexity of running your own crew. Every shipment runs through you now, but more importantly, every single mistake your subordinates make lands directly on your name. Leading these guys isn't just about scaring them. It's about expertly managing their greed and their pride. If one of your guys starts quietly skimming off a shipment, you have to crush that immediately with decisive internal discipline. Because if you flinch, if you fail to act, you lose all authority in front of a crew that would gladly take your spot in a heartbeat. But this leadership level has an even steeper price. Say you successfully hold your territory against a rival crew. Well, it costs you a friend, someone who actually joined this life right beside you. And in this world, grief is treated strictly as a weakness. You are forced to bury that human emotion entirely, so the bosses above you see absolutely nothing but unflinching discipline. That's how you get groomed for the executive level. Hitting rank 4 brings this incredibly heavy, totally unanticipated burden. As second in command, you're operating directly beside the Jefe himself. Sure, you have outward respect from everyone, but you are acutely aware of the succession risk. Every single man beneath you is quietly watching your every move, just waiting for your highly coveted position to open up. Surviving this claustrophobic environment requires extreme tactical awareness. I mean, you're hearing secrets on a daily basis that could easily get you killed. You have to constantly navigate and refuse these subtle little offers of mutiny from other lieutenants wanting to overthrow the boss. And then comes the ultimate test, a real-time assassination threat against the Jefe. You step in, you save his life. Now, by saving his life, you secure a terrifying amount of power. He thanks you privately, of course, but as you look into his eyes, you see the ultimate paradox of the top tier. From the very top of the organization, deep gratitude and cold suspicion look exactly the same. You are now the most capable, and therefore the absolute most dangerous man in his orbit. Eventually, the old Jefe steps back, and the position is yours. Rank 5. You now hold supreme organizational control, absolute command over the territory, massive cash flows, and literal life and death. But you very quickly realize that having absolute control is not at all the same thing as having peace. Your initial decisions work perfectly. The territory and the money expand rapidly. But sleep? It becomes impossible. Unseen enemies are constantly planning their next move. You realize that at the very peak of this hierarchy, silence is never actually peace. It's literally just the calm before an inevitable attack. Out of sheer organizational exhaustion, you accept a truce that deep down you know isn't going to last. And then the inevitable collapse begins. After years and years of building, the breakdown happens incredibly fast, and it comes from within. During those tense months, a trusted insider breaks the truce and talks to the authorities. The structural integrity of everything you've built shatters in mere days. Suddenly, you're in the final hours of reckoning, forced into a corner with old rivals and debts closing in all at once. As the walls close in on you, you're staring down the exact same choice every single Jefe who sat in that chair before you had to make. Do you step back and lose it all, or do you hold on with violent force? You choose to hold on. And as our source material strictly points out, that is the very decision that historically guarantees a violent end for every leader. With the end rushing toward you and absolutely no retirement in sight, you look back at your climb. You look at the pieces of your humanity that you traded away at every single step of this brutal corporate ladder. Your time, your trust, your friends, pieces of your own soul. You traded it all away just to survive the next promotion. 5 ranks. 1 sprawling organization, and 1 quiet truth that every single person who enters this life learns the exact same, devastatingly hard way. But you know what the real tragedy is? It's the sheer persistence of the system itself. The machine doesn't stop when you fall, it just reboots. Somewhere out there tonight, in the dark, a brand new nervous lookout is sitting on a hillside clutching a buzzing phone. He's already being tested, already being watched, and he has absolutely no idea what rank 5 is eventually going to cost him. So I'll leave you with this final chilling thought, looking back down at that incredibly long, dark drop below you, knowing the absolute total cost of this climb, which rank would you have stopped at? I mean, could you have stopped at all? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope mapping this out offered you a striking new perspective on the invisible, unyielding structures of the underworld.